From Craig Rolson in Europe, David Gerber in Brazil, and our editor-in-chief and publisher, Don Oshman, it's time for this week's Sunday Night Week in Review.
Good evening. It's Sunday night, September 21st, and welcome to another edition of the HideNet Week in Review video. My name is Don Oshman, editor-in-chief and publisher of HideNet Market Reports. Craig Rolson, our European editor, reported this weekend in our European report that prices were generally steady to last. In other words, this week and last week, in the middle of all the shows with Linear Pel ending and the Queer starting in Paris, prices were generally about steady. There's a report on the Queer show, which just finished in Paris on Friday, and there is also how a new owner of that Queer show, and it's going to change the name at the next edition in the spring or late winter. Also a story about how Lear is expanding in Europe due to their Eagle Ottawa acquisition. So they're getting deeper into their business and expanding to take care of their customers better with the Eagle Ottawa automotive upholstery acquisition by Lear. UK and Irish hides found interest this week, both in China and in Italy. But prices were still steady, but their demand expanded a little bit. German and French cows were fairly steady, and a lot of those went to Italy as well. But again, even with this business and demand, prices didn't go up. In the skin market, in the calfskin market, the Queer and Linear Pel helped and stimulated some business, but there were still no dramatic changes in prices. European bulls continued firm, and the European lamb and sheep market is still in the doldrums, with producers scrambling to liquidate their kills every week. North America, the U.S. Week in Review report, volume was kind of on the low side, or moderate at best. Texas sold at a record high price, regardless between $1.18 and $1.19 CNF. But again, volume was nothing to be excited about. And one of the reasons was the packers were not anxious to sell and didn't offer that many. Combined export sales again were below slaughter, and slaughter is at the historic lows. The cattle population in America is the lowest, I think, 1951. We have an interesting article also in this week, a video on the cattle supply in America and how the cattle are moving from the Southwest more into the Midwest. Very interesting report on this week's U.S. Week in Review. So again, combined export sales were below slaughter, and the outstanding is now at a 17th-month low. Outstanding means how many hides and wet blue are owed by producers to exports, and they're at a 17-month low. And therefore, the forward sold position has eroded accordingly. We have an extensive. Also, one other thing I forgot to say about the cattle and feed is we're talking about cattle supply. So here they got low supply, and still production of hides is still below sales. And the cattle and feed report means cattle and feed that are going to mature well within the next 6 months. That's down 1% from a year ago. So that herd rebuilding is not going on yet. We've expanded our split pricing report in this week's U.S. Week in Review. You'll enjoy that. And our tail of the scale, where we forecast or assess supply and demand, that's on there. It's a level this week. And also our forecasts have been very, very good, because we've been hitting it right on the mark, what we expect one week to another week, which shows you that if you subscribe to a report, it doesn't cost, it pays you to have this information. We're not right all the time, but about 85% of the time. Another feature of HideNet I must give a little commercial in. We have all sorts of charts and graphs and historical data which can help you make decisions, or if you're in a big organization, how you can report to the people you buy, you intermingle, you talk to, your suppliers, your customers, your other management people. You have all this data to help you tell them what's going on in the markets. In Latin America this week, Argentine prices were essentially steady, no big change. Brazilian slaughter, big debate about that. We heard from one of the biggest producers in the country a couple of weeks ago that he expects 38 million head. Our other estimates, our David Holes, who's the editor of our market report from Latin America, says he thinks it's going to be closer to 42 million head. And in the last quarter, it was down, I think, 1% or something. So it's still not for sure what the slaughter is going to be in Brazil this year, but it's not going to be a record setter. It's not going to be terrific. How drastically lower, that remains to be seen. The big news from Brazil is that the undertone of that market has come down. For example, TR1, $2.10 a kilo CFR, a square foot. $2 a square foot now is kind of wishful thinking on by tanners. Well, $2.15 a square foot is definitely out of the question, where by the time they went to Hong Kong 3 weeks ago, they thought $2.15 was going to be achieved. They can't get buyers to pay them their prices, and their customers are still on a hand-to-mouth basis. So we go into that. We also talked about the Liqueur report from the Brazilian perspective, how those tanners who went to Paris, what their results were. And then also in Latin America, an extended split report on Mexican, Argentine, and Brazilian splits. This week in leather, which was published each Wednesday, we have a very interesting report on the major changes in the Chinese leather market. Also Chinese automotive sales, how they've slowed lately. And of course China has about a 40% penetration of leather in all their vehicles, but it's slowed in the last 5 months. There's a very good report on U.S. outdoor footwear, U.S. outwear footwear sales, which is an important thing. We have that's a regular feature in This Week in Leather. And also, interesting story how the first major Chinese domestic brand is set to launch their product into the American market. So that's the rough outline of what's going on in our world this week. Again, we urge you to get a free trial, see for yourself, see how HideNet can make you money. Thank you for watching.